Are we live? Are we? We are live. Good evening, good morning, wherever you're at. I'm your host, Industrial Dave, and today we are going to talk about where should you live? Where should you live? Okay, this is key. We're going to talk about where are the hot places, where are the cold places. All right, so let's get into it. First things first, where do you want to live? All right. You're going to have to base this on the type of work, the type of job that you want to get into. All right. For example, if you're trying to get in commercial diving, you're probably not going to find anywhere to live in the Midwest. Even though you can, it's not going to be very economical for the type of work that you want to do, right? You're probably going to want to work in a coastal city. Your Seattle, your Miami, your New Jersey, California, coastal cities are probably going to have more work for divers than somewhere in the Midwest. So things like that, okay? Another example that we're going to be talking about is your income ratio to rent, things like that. All these play a key factor in where you want to live. And nonetheless, the type of job regarding the type of union is going to play a big part in where you want to live. Okay. With that being said, all right, all right, all right. I'm going to give you my point of view. Again, this is my experience. Everybody always has their own. So I'm going to tell you what I know, okay? For example, I like to use Miami, all right? We'll talk about um living as far as an apartment or a house, okay? We'll just use an apartment. It's a little bit easier for me. I've never been in a house. Okay. If you're in Miami, and we'll use $2,000 for an example, all right? For a two-bedroom. You have an apartment in Miami that's 2,000 for rent, then you have an apartment in California that's $2,000 for a two-bedroom. They could be the same size, both in really nice places. For all you technical people out there, yeah, Miami's a little bit humid or whatever, but again, they're pretty close as far as being nice to each other, okay? So anyways, LA, Miami, the rent is $2,000 a month for each place, both the same size and everything. Now you're probably like, "Well, okay, so what's the point?" The point about this is that when it comes to you being in a union, and working a blue collar job is night and day. Okay. Florida is a red state, it's in the South. So the wages, they're not pretty high. They're very low. Okay. It's not even comparable. For instance, I give you an example. If you are Oh man, this is crazy. If you are a boilermaker and you're working in Southern California as a journeyman boilermaker at full scale, you're somewhere around the I don't want to forget it. It's been a while. You're somewhere around the 48 dollars an hour range, okay? For the same exact type of work, no different, okay? No different in Miami. You're probably I believe I've never even worked there, but I've heard these stories. I believe you might be at 34 an hour. And I don't even think it's that high, okay? So that's what this episode is talking about, okay? I want you to think about that perspective. Living in Miami, paying 2,000 for rent, make you $34 an hour versus somewhere else, $2,000 for rent, but you're making $47 an hour, okay? Things like that is going to play a big part in where you decide to live, okay? If you like a really mild winter, you like the rain. You know what I'm going to say? You move to Seattle, all right? The weather is not great. Again, this is a channel for blue collar workers. Most of us work outside. Are you going to want to work in a part of the country like that? You're Portland, Oregon, and north of that, all along the Interstate I-5, they get a lot of rain up there, hence all the nice looking trees and stuff like that. But for us to we work outside all the time, that might not be a route that you want to take. Yeah, the wages are good. So, what are some options for you? You can go to the Midwest. I mean, with this type of work, it's really tough to be a beggar and a chooser, okay? You're gonna have to pick your poison. There's poison everywhere, okay? I'm just trying to tell you that there's a few options with the poison that you could take, right? Do you want to take it to the head or to the chest? Is essentially what I'm trying to explain to you. The places in Chicago in the Midwest, they pay really well, especially all the union jobs in Chicago. The Midwest is really good too, like your other parts of the Midwest, like St. Louis, Southern Illinois, Kansas City, Minneapolis. These places have a really good wages, and really, from my experience, the best place that you can live with your wage to rent ratio is the Midwest. I give you an example. There's places in Minnesota, in St. Paul, where you're in a big city, you've got a big population, and rent isn't out of control like it is in all these other places. And yet you can still make high 40s, okay? The perfect example I can give you is right now from filming this video, I am in, I guess, Southern Virginia, Hampton Roads, okay? I have a two-bedroom apartment. It's in a fairly fairly nice neighborhood. There are nicer neighborhoods, but I'm a 3-minute walk from Five Guys. I'm a 5-minute walk from Longhorns, another 5-minute walk from Red Lobster. That kind of gives you the area that I'm in. And I live across the street from an airport, okay? My rent is 1700. It's what is it? 1690, right? Let's call it 1700. It's 1700 a month for a two-bedroom. I think it's 1,000 square foot, right? But for unions, the journeyman wage, the journeyman wage for I believe a pipe fitter is $31 an hour. You know what can you do? What can you do? You can't really do much with that. It's not gonna go an extremely long way. So you're probably saying, "Oh, well, what do I want to do in this type of area?" Well, this type of area has a giant shipyard, the biggest shipyard in the country. So it behoove you to become a shipbuilder and get in that type of environment. Okay. Now, that's a whole another genre too. I have an episode about that. But if you're going to be a contractor, the shipyards do make a lot. They make good money. Okay. I believe you can do your 90s and your 110s out here at the shipyard if you're a contractor. If you work directly for the shipyard, it's night and day. You talking maybe 45, you talking maybe 45 to 65, with probably a shitload of overtime. Okay, so again, these are things that I'm trying to get you to think about, right? Now you go a little bit further north, you've got DC. Your union jobs pay pretty good in DC, and from DC on up, you've got Philadelphia and Jersey in New York. The higher north you go, the better the wage gets. Now, of course, in some of places like that, that's not like Chicago, your rent's going to be a little bit higher in your Philadelphia and New York and Jersey and stuff like that, as opposed to the Midwest, like Chicago. You can get that extremely high wage, but rent isn't necessarily out of control like how it is in LA and in the Bay Area. Like, what good is, oh man, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but what good is making, 65, or, and I think that's all really, but in the Bay Area, what good is making 65 to, $67 an hour as a union pipe fitter, where the rent is, you would wish it was $2,000 for a two bedroom, you talking maybe $3,100 for a two-bedroom, right? What's the point of making, so much an hour where you're going to get taxed way more? It's California. They're going to tax the living crap out of you. And, for that year, you might have made, let's say with overtime, you might have made maybe 148,000 or maybe 170,000. But what's the point when you've paid $40,000 just in rent? You know what I mean? Then that's not unheard of. It's very possible to pay $41,000 in rent. So I want you guys to just try to think about these things and where you can go. Nobody thinks of places like Wyoming or Montana, North, South Dakota. Again, you can't be a beggar and a chooser. Nobody's flocking to these places in mass groves. Yes, the winter is extremely brutal, cold, freezing. Don't want to go outside. Yes, that's right. But hey, you're gonna have to pick your poison. Again, do you want it in the head or in the chest? Everywhere is gonna have a catch. What catch are you willing to put up with? That's what I'm here to help you with, okay? Places like Wyoming, there's oil refineries out there. That part of the country has a lot of mines. There's a lot of heavy industrial jobs that way that nobody thinks of and nobody wants to do. I remember I saw a program where they were bringing in people who had zero experience and training them to be, I believe it was COs at some type of prison out there, and they were going to start out making 85,000 a year, and all that stuff. So again, you want to think about these places, especially if you've got a family, a wife, you want your wife to stay at home, you've got the kids and everything, and you have that talk. You say, you know what, we need to get up out of here. If you're sitting there and you guys are living in California or somewhere, where the rent's high and you're just like, you know what, I've had enough. Like, we can't do anything. We don't get any time with each other. I'm working 90 hours a week and I'm still only bringing home, you know, 2,500 a week and my money's not going anywhere. Go somewhere where it'll go. Nobody's going to be mad at you. There people are gonna talk about you whether you do good or whether you do bad, okay? So what's the point, right? Once you move somewhere where you can make the same amount of money, where you can make 2,000 and 3,500 dollars a week, where your rent might only be $1,400. It might even be 1,100 and still be a nice, decent neighborhood, right? Think about the money that you can just save in a few years just by moving, okay? People get so stuck on just having to live somewhere or I gotta stay here, especially people in California. The first thing that they're gonna tell you in Southern California, it never rains here. We got the beach, the desert. I could go see the snow and I could go to Disneyland all in one day. Come on, man. Let's be logical, okay? One, you can't afford Disneyland. Two, you're in traffic for 50 hours a week. You got to work all the overtime you can because you can't afford your apartment. Your car notes high as hell. What's the point? When's the last time you actually been to Disneyland? You can't afford it because you're working all the time. So what's the point of even bringing that conversation up, right? Move somewhere where you can and go fly and visit. You can do that too. It's California's not going nowhere. And I hate to pick on the Golden State, but it is what it is. There's just people leaving that place in mass groves. And then there's people going to that place in mass groves, which I have no reason why. I'm gone. I'm never going back there, right? But the thing about California, I will say if you're wanting to decide, California is a blue state. One thing that I will admit about blue states seem to be more union friendly. Okay. So most of your blue collar jobs are going to have really, really good wages. Places like Minnesota, California, Pennsylvania, um, Jersey. certain parts of New York, okay? People forget New York is a whole entire state, all right? There's little cities in New York that don't even pay close to what the boroughs are, all right? I'm talking about the boroughs in New York, you know. Um Washington has they have really good wages for unions. I believe the a union pipe fitter journeyman is in the $62 an hour range, right? But again, you're gonna have to put up with the weather. There's always something, okay? You're gonna have to put up with something. If you are wanting to get in the railroad, places like Chicago have lots of rail, Montana moves lots of rail, Minnesota. And you know what? Just these places that I just named so far, I know off the top of my head that they have a lot of rail, but really there's rail jobs all over the country that you can get to. If you're wanting to get into the refineries, I would consider out of all the places in the country, let's see, you've got California has a, and most of your coastal cities are going to have refineries. Um, I would compare California, Washington State, and down in the Gulf. Okay, so your Houston area to Lake Charles, Louisiana, there there's refineries down there that are ginormous. Okay, they are bigger than entire cities down there. Well, one thing in the South is you're not gonna get a lot of money on union jobs, but your non-union jobs are gonna pay pretty good down there. You know, you're gonna get your high 30s and your high 40s if you're in the refinery environment in the South. Okay. This is only in the South, your Texas, Louisiana type area. Okay. I would consider you know what? I would consider that, you know, like I said, everything's a give and a take. You know, you can get high paying jobs in the South and not be union. You know, you got your hurricane weather. You know, your winters are gonna be very mild, but your summers are gonna be disgusting. Remember, we work outside, right? You're just gonna have to pick your poison. I suggest the Midwest. The Midwest has a brutal winter as well, you know, not as bad as your Wisconsin and your North and South Dakotas and stuff like that, but you're gonna get really good wages, and you can still kind of half-ass find affordable rent in the Midwest where it's just not killing you, right? So I would suggest the Midwest is a really good place to start as far as you know your family stuff and getting your life together, whether you know you've been down on your luck and you found this channel and you got into the trades, or whether you've been in a while and you just want to settle down and put some roots, right? Again, big cities like New Jersey, New York, Chicago, and you're pretty much all the West Coast, you're gonna get high paying union jobs, but you're also going to get that influx of demand, right? So instead of a place putting out that, hey, we need 10 guys and only 20 apply, now this place needs 10 guys, but now you've got 1,000 applying. Okay. I remember one time, my uncle's, he's a big time firefighter in the city of LA. He's a captain now. I remember he told me that I believe one time they were looking to hire maybe 100 cadets and they had 13,000 applications. All right. So, man, people know. Okay. The word is getting out there that there are six-figure jobs where you do not need a formal education. The word is starting to spread like fire. All right. Again, I'm trying to help you think about places that you want to live, you want to move, your rent versus your income, and all these things. So, if you have a question on any of these topics, leave me a comment and I will get back to you, or ask me, DM me, do whatever you want to try to get in contact with me and we could talk about it and I'll try to give you the best option for the type of work that you're doing. All right. So I appreciate you guys for listening to Industrial Dave, and tune in. We got more coming your way. All right. Have a safe day, and I'm out. Peace.